Welcome to another vintage fishing reel service and repair video. In this episode, we have a quick 220N made by Dam, which is a West German manufacturer. And of course, Dam is an acronym, and it stands for the Deutsche Angelgeräte Manufaktur. And and of course, these have been in business since the Dam Corporation or so on had been in business. And of course, that means German angling equipment manufacturer. They've been in business since the late 1800s. The N series started in 1974. Prior to that, there was just the 110. The 220, the 330, the 440, and the 550 with no N. And then in 1974, you had some changes that resulted in the letter N being added, assuming that means new, or in German it'd be Neue. But at any rate, I think they made the N series up until maybe the mid 80s, maybe 1984, something like that. And in general, the Dam Quicks, these late 60s, 70s Dam Quicks, are regarded as really high quality reels. In my mind, they're on par, or at least as good as the Mitchells. And the 220 here is about the size of a Mitchell 300. Now, my dad always had to have the best, and he always had the Garcia Mitchells. He had a Garcia Mitchell 300, and so from what I've heard, these are often regarded as equivalent, at least with the Mitchells, which in case of the Mitchells, those were made in France. At any rate, I got this one, and for $3 at a flea market. And the only thing that I notice about it is that I don't know if the springs, it seems like the spring's broken. So this bail isn't returning. It's not, there's no spring action. So this one's going to be a service and a repair. So I'm going to start first with seeing what's wrong with the bail spring, and just in case, I ended up ordering a NOS bail spring for this, because I'm assuming that's broken. Now on this one, it's not the different ends of the bail look about the same, so it's not always exactly intuitive which side has the spring, but it ends up being this side. And there's a number of ways to go about this, but we'll just see what's going on in there first. And we don't have to worry about it flying anywhere, presumably, because it's not engaging. So we'll take a coin. Somebody's been in there and they used a screwdriver that was too small for it, and they've got some flaring in there, but a coin works particularly well for these. Okay, so it looks like the spring is there and it is not broken. And let's just compare it to the new one here, the NOS ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got a end of the spring that comes straight up and one that goes out. So that is an original spring, and it's not broke. And so it just apparently needs to be reset. And so, okay, it looks like there's a hole in the bail arm here, and there's a slit here. And so the one that's kind of facing out goes in the slit. And I think this is going to be easier to do if we end up taking this off, and there's a little washer there as well, and then you've got this roller here for your line. Okay, so let's see here. So it seems like that would be in the position where you have obviously zero tension. Doesn't go on like that, I don't believe. So if you put it on there like that, the spring has zero tension, and I'm gonna just at least get the screw on. Loosely to keep so we had that part of the spring pointing up go into a hole. I didn't probably show that very well. Let me pull this back off. So the little part of the spring that slides out or comes out goes here. Let me just pull this out. Goes in that part there goes in that slot, and then this part of the end of the spring that's facing up goes in that hole on this bail arm thing. So then we can kind of loosely secure that by putting the nut or the bolt back into place. And now tripping this, I think we need to trip that. And we got to get our line roller there. And then our washer, and then our nut. And hopefully I've got this back together right. All right. So I'm guessing that's right. I'm just trying to look to see as that spool oscillates. Well, if that lines up properly and is going to wind that reel or that line on that spool properly. Sure looks like it. What's the matter now? Oh, there it goes. Okay, so that seems to be working properly. I don't know if it's typical for that bail to come up that high like that or not, but it seems to be working. The anti-reverse lever is here, so there's off, and then so the anti-reverse is up in the rotor. So, okay, well, I'm going to assume that's that's okay there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull the spool off. You just push that button and it pulls off, and it's kind of scruddy in there, so obviously in need of some cleaning. What happened here? What's this? Okay, I guess that button doesn't come out. We have to get this side plate off. Looks like there's one screw there. And okay, so the handle is retractable, but it looks like in order to get the handle off, we've got to punch a pin out of there. Okay, there it is. It's already starting to, I don't know if you can see that, it's starting to come out of there. And I don't have a proper punch, so I'm going to try a tiny screwdriver. I'm getting there. Come on a little bit. Let's see if I can get with the pliers. There it comes. Okay. So I'm going to leave what's left of that pin in there so I don't lose it. And then it looks like we've got some kind of a washer here. And then this unscrews. And then there's an E-clip there that I assume, let's see what we got going on inside of this thing. I got, by the way, quite a good deal on this for $3, even if the bail spring had been missing or broken. I don't know what I paid for this, $6 or $8 total, but $3 for one of these, even if I had to buy the new, which in this case I didn't. If I'd had to buy the new spring, is quite a deal. These are really good reels and still sought after, not only as collectibles but also as users. And I really don't want to scratch the paint on this if I can help it. So I'm going to try sneaking this X-Acto, and there's just all kinds of dirt and stuff that's holding this plate. There it comes. It's just holding this plate in place here. Oh boy. That is some nasty caked on, baked on grease. I mean, look at that. Yeah. That's some nasty grease. Protects it, but it just has got this thing pretty bound up. Okay, that's just a pin. So on the crosswind arm and into the pinion gear shaft, there's just a simple removable pin. So that's kept in place by the side plate, so there's no need to have a clip or anything on there. You just push it in and side plate keeps it from coming out. Now, okay, this axle shaft is going to come right out. So I'm going to put that in the parts tray. This pin is magnetic. So I saw all these Christmas gift ideas at the Walmart at the ends of the aisle, and I saw this little kit with magnetic dishes, and it had a little telescopic magnet on it. I want to get some of that. That'll keep my pin safe. Let's see if we can get the main gear out before we take out the pinion gear, which in this case is a worm gear. Okay, so there's an E-clip and another washer behind it. So there's a washer and then an E-clip for the main gear shaft. And that will push out. So there you have that. I do not see any, I don't believe, shim washers. Just double check. No, I don't see any shim washers there. This also has an E-clip on it to remove the crosswind arm. But I think I'm going to wait till I get the sink to take that off. Well, let's see here. I don't want to lose it. Okay, I'll go ahead and take that off now. That one's an interesting looking. Definitely looks, I'm not even sure you'd call that an E-clip. Maybe it's more of a true C-clip. And then that will allow this arm to come off. And is that a shim washer? It kind of looks like it. Yes, there is a washer there. And there's a washer on the other side of it too. So there's a washer on either side of that crosswind arm. That's all just caked on grease in there. So those can go in the parts tray. And it is nicer to get this grease off if you can, the gobs of it off before you get to the sink and muck up your toothbrush with excess grease. That can go in the parts tray. All right, now with the rotor and the, what in the world is that? Looks like a piece of wire or something in there. does look like a piece of metal. It looks like a piece of a wire brush or something, but it isn't mine. I don't know what that was about. You just never know. All right. Let's see if I can find a socket here to match. Okay, that is a regular thread. So righty tighty, lefty loosey. And then it looks like you have some kind of a tension washer. It's kind of bent like a tension washer. Get out of there. Okay. This piece looks like, oh no, it does come out. So this sort of oval piece comes out. And I'm not going to take anything else or monkey with anything else in that rotor. There's some other things that come off, but unless I have issues with that rotor or bail, I'm going to leave the rest of that alone. All right, it looks like there's a clip in there, and I don't have one of those compressor tools. That's one tool I need to get. So I'm going to see if I can get a small pair of needle nose in there and get that out with those. And try not to shoot this across the room in the process. So it's basically like one of them spring clips, and I don't have one of those little compressor tools, so I'm just going to use some small needle nose to get that out of there. All right, so that should, it looks like it should allow us to pull out the axle shaft or the pinion gear, and it looks like there's another spring washer on there, and then there's a bearing on this. Oh, there's another washer, a regular washer, and then there's a bearing. And the bearing appears to be stuck on there pretty good. I'm not sure that it really needs to come off, but I think when I'm over at the sink, maybe some WD-40 on there will get it to slide off. But this is ready for the parts tray. Okay, so other than that, there's a spring in there associated with the anti-reverse. So there's the anti-reverse pawl, the anti-reverse switch, a spring, and then the anti-reverse, when it's engaged, it actually engages the cogs on the inside of the rotor. That's where you get your anti-reverse action. So these parts are ready for the parts tray. and ready to be those confounded Chinese ladybugs. These are going to be taken over to the sink and scrubbed with Dawn dishwashing liquid and a toothbrush. Some cases a wire brush if necessary to get down in the teeth of the gears. WD-40 to degrease, and that'll be again rinsed with Dawn dish soap to get the WD-40 off. Getting a cotton swab down into all the little holes and journals and things, and when that's done, we'll be ready to assemble, and I'll be back just like that. Alright, lay the parts out here. Get some of these tools out of the way. Now, when I was washing this in the sink, the little badge on the reel came off, but luckily there's a shadow of where it was on there. I don't know if you can see that, but it goes on like that. So maybe while I'm thinking about it right now, I may go ahead and just put that back on. Good enough. And as usual, if I see any scrud on these shafts, I like to take steel wool and just polish those up. And there's some up here inside where the spool goes. Some of that's probably just discoloration. Main gear looks fine. All right, I could take like what I might do if I really needed to get this bearing off, which is in good shape, by the way, is if it were me, I mean, there may be better ways, but I'd probably get a spark plug socket, one of the long ones that matches this size, and gently try to tap it off there. But I really don't see any reason to get it off of the worm gear here, and I'll probably just leave it the way it is. So now we can put the pinion gear back in, and I'm going to just grease around the edge of this, just so that the next time it comes out, it won't get bound up in there, hopefully. So I'm just gonna lubricate that, and we've got I'm gonna do a couple things. I'm going to grease the teeth of the pinion worm gear, pack those good with grease, and then I'm going to oil the end that goes in the bushing. Like that. And then I'm going to oil the bearing. And then we have this little brass washer that kind of seals that up to the best that it can. And then we've got this tensiony washer here. And then we have to reinstall our spring clip. And I'm going to get my poor man's spring clip tool out, which is a pair of small needle nose pliers, and stick them in those holes. And make sure that's down in there in the groove and fully expanded. And now that is in there. And I see no reason why we can't go ahead and put the rotor into place. I'm going to oil the threads on the trip mechanism here, and I'm going to oil the inside that goes over the pinion gear there, bushing or whatever you want to call it. And then we've got this oval washer, whatever you want to call it, that keys in. We have to see here. We have to turn our pinion gear so that the flat sides are parallel with the flat sides on the housing there on the rotor. So there's a flat side on either side of the pinion gear, and there's flat sides here that correspond with the flat sides on this I don't know what you call it, washer. I don't know. I just don't know. All right, then we've got another kind of a tensiony washer, and then we've got our nut, which is always fun to try to get on there without cross-threading it, because it's kind of a tight space and they just want to rock one way to the next. Okay, that's working very nicely. Now I think we can reassemble the crosswind arm to the main gear, remembering that this, where the arm attaches, was bound by, on either side, by shim washers. And I'm going to put a little oil around that post and put that on there, and then the second shim washer, and then our C-clip. Okay. You know, you wonder if these grooves in here are basically designed to be grease retention grooves, so that, you know, kind of constantly re-greases. I don't know, but obviously I'm going to want to put some grease where that rides against the face of the housing, and some grease up here, and of course in the teeth. So I'm going to pack these teeth well. And then oil the main gear shaft and put that into place. And I'm gonna, in order to keep that into place, I've got to reinstall the E-clip, but before that we've got a little brass washer. Then comes our E-clip. There we go. E-clip's in place, so the main gear is in place. This point, we should be able to oil the axle shaft and install that. Line up the hole on the end of the axle shaft with the hole on the end of the crosswind arm and insert the little peg. And now install this piece that basically allows you to collapse the handle. I don't know what you call it. And then we've got I believe that's where the washer went. Yeah. And then put the handle on, and I'm going to see if I can use this to line it up a little better. All right, I'm going to take this probably off your view here so I can hammer this pin in. I don't figure you need to see that to know what's going on. All right. I think now this side cover, I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed on this, and it still kind of has like a brownish film on it, but that's as good as I could get it. So don't lose that pin. I don't see any reason to. I guess we've got it greased and oiled as good as we need to there. So no reason why we can't, at this point, return the side plate. And I put some WD-40 on it. Look at that. But that was just to clean it out. So now I'm going to just put a little oil in there and lubricate it. And all kinds of, look at that black gunk. That oil goes in clear. And it's just rinsing out all that gunk in there. And that'll make that run even more smoothly. Why is that ever running nice now? So now let's take a look at the spool and check the drag. That's still a little wet in there from being in the sink. And it looks like we've got a little clip in there we've got to winkle out. Little brass clip. And then, whoa, why is that rusty in there? There's your stack there. So good thing we decided to go in there. That is quite messy in there. Looks like this thing with the ears, let's see. Yeah, it goes down in there like that. So there's a washer, a brass washer, and then this thing with the ears that slips down in the two slots on that drag clicker gear. And then you have another one of these tension type washers, which I'm going to take my fingers and just lightly grease, mainly as a corrosion preventative. And I'm going to put that one back into place. And then you have this hexagonal one. It needs to be cleaned. A lot of rust in there. And I think that's stainless, so I don't really need to grease or do anything with that. Then your actual drag washer, which is a thick fibrous thing, which I don't particularly want highly lubricated, and that goes in. And then you've got another stainless keyed washer that will end up lining up with the flat sides of the shaft that goes through there. And then you have this retainer clip spring thingy. Oh, there it goes. Hang on, got a spring to find. Luckily that didn't take as long as it could have, given all the nooks and crannies around here. Alright, let's try that again. Let's not try it exactly the same way. Okay. Line up the flat sides of the post that goes through up there with the keyed washer that's on top, and return the drag adjustment knob and reattach the spool. And you got to kind of spin that, so there's a little pin in there on the shaft there. And then it has to line up with the slot there. So you can either just put it on any old way and spin it until it clicks into place, or kind of try to line it up. But there you have the, in this case, service and repair. The repair being that someone must have tried to take off the screw here and didn't set the spring, because the spring wasn't broke and it was there, and so just needed to be reset. But that's a repair and service of a really high quality reel. This one probably dates to the mid to late 70s, so no earlier than 1974. A quick 2020 in, made by DAM, the Deutsche Angelgeräte Manufaktur. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.